Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest, Kimberly-Reed, and she's here to share with us her new book, Optimists Always Win, Moving from Defeat to Life's C-Suite. Now, have you considered if your brain's default setting is just negative? Difficulties and struggles are unavoidable in life, but a person has complete control over their response to any given situation. Now, many of you know Kimberly. She's an award-winning diversity and inclusion expert, international speaker, and corporate trainer. The corporate tenure, Chief Transformational Officer of the Reed Development Group, Kimberly has developed a distinguished reputation as having one of the most distinct and powerful voice in the lecture circuit, transforming the thinking of thousands. She earned her BA in political science with a concentration in international relations and public administration from Westchester University. Kimberly also earned her Master's of Education, Adult Organizational Development and Public Policy, and received certifications in Training and Development and Communication and Conflict from Temple University. So let's welcome to the show, Kimberly-Reed.
Thank you so very much for having me, Marianne. I'm so happy to be here.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about your new book. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I will tell you, Marianne, my mom, my two beautiful grandmothers, and life. And what I mean by that is that my beautiful mother, Barbara E. Reed, she passed away on July 31st, 2012. And her last 45 days of her life truly inspired me in some very significant ways. And she battled her last days of leukemia with such grace, immovable faith, and just joy. And my grandmothers were such women of strength, faith, hope, optimism. And all women were women of God, women of resilience, women of gratitude, which are all elements of the book, which are all revitalizations of me. And those are the very important reasons, Marianne, why I felt that it was important that I catalog my journey through those very important moments of time, from my mother being sick to her passing, to my own bout, to my rock bottom, to coming out on the other side.
Well, my goodness, how empowering is that? Because there's so many people right now who are going through that same thing. And I'm so sorry about your mom. My condolences there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. But, to take away such a meaningful, life skill, I mean, how important is that?
Yes, it really is, because oftentimes, Marianne, when we go through life's trials, right? And when we go through certain things that happen in our life, for me, they're spiritual pivots. And God punctuates our lives in this season with crisis moments that test our faith and resilience of varying degrees, designed for our everlasting good. And I truly believe that. For me, one of the things that I do to help sustain and continuously build and train my mind to be optimistic is read scriptures, Bible scriptures, And scriptures describe the faithful not as those who never saw trouble, but as those who cried out to God in their crisis. And as I described early on, almost 9 years later, I still remember that crossroads moment of rock bottom and survival.
I know in your book you talk about how we're all predisposed to, thinking negatively.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is, and how can we change that?
So, optimism is the fundamental belief that things are going to work out even when they're not going according to plan. And what I walked through with my mom was the epitome of that statement. Optimists are able to succeed because they look for opportunities, not problems, right? And even when we see problems, we're able to identify solutions. That's one of the traits of optimism. But one of the other important things about optimism is that optimism can be trained. But it takes some effort, right, to build. Most people haven't formally trained their minds. So first, you have to expand your concept of optimism. It's not just about thinking nice thoughts. And for me, it wasn't when my mom was going through her own journey. It was me saying, I need my mother to be well, which most people would say. I need my mother to live. I want my mother to live. It's important that my mother lives. Optimists look at adversity as temporary, which I did. I looked at my mother's situation as temporary, external. And pessimists, right, view adversity as unchangeable and personal, that there's a reason why this is happening to our family, and that God is doing this to punish us. But that wasn't the case. This was something that was so, yes, devastating. Yes, unfortunate. But it happened to us. And it was something that we had to face. And it then became, Marianne, my power in my rear view. Because the power in our rear view is accepting change by looking to our past, right? Looking back at examples where we've coped with devastation, uncertainty, rock bottom, and change before you can accept your current situation. And my current situation for me, when I was looking at it through this lens, was being numb, was still grieving, was rock bottom, was where most people still are, even though we are in 2021. Some people have suffered a painful breakup in the past, but they were eventually able to move on with their lives, found someone new. I'm not comparing death to a painful breakup. What I am saying is that we have to look at our past so it can help us see past the current crisis and derive some confidence that we're going to be able to pull through again. And at some point through this walk of grief that I was going through and rock bottom, I had to believe at some point, because I didn't believe for a little while. Not proud of that, but I didn't. But I had to believe, and I had to believe in God, and people have to believe in whom they believe in, their higher power, that they're going to get the help that they need to pull through again. And I did. And that's called restoration. And I'm still every day, Marianne, every single day, every moment, every day being restored 9 years later.
Wow. That's just so impressive. I think it provides a lot of hope for people who are struggling with this and thinking, okay, by tomorrow, I've got to get this, because resilience is something that you develop over time or you learn. And a lot of people haven't learned that.
Right. Oh, no. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Resilience is the ability to adapt in the face of changing circumstances, right? And it is a crucial characteristic of people, right? Gratitude is the rocket fuel to our resilience, right? And when you say gratitude and resilience in the same sentence, it's like, what? How could you be thankful and go through really hard times? Well, when that happens, and when you think about gratitude for a moment, is still going back to that power of your rear view that I talked about, right? And thinking about how what you went through helped you in some way. And let me make it plainer. I listened to every motivational video. I read every Bible verse. I watched the whole season of Oprah's Super Soul Sunday. I asked God a million times to take away the pain of losing my mom, my maternal grandmother shortly thereafter. And then I had cancer myself, all in the same 6-month period of time. And that didn't work. The lights were still off in my soul. And I kept saying to myself, when will I be that woman again who went through life at 120 miles per hour in the snow and lived life with zest? Why was all this happening to me? I felt this indescribable pain, and I didn't even know how to walk again, literally. And when you think about this word of gratitude, it came to me, Marianne, because I said to myself, I just got diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer. But I just walked with my mom 45 days. I took copious notes, although my mom had a different cancer, but I listened to the nutrition. I listened to the doctor and what she needed to do for health-wise and how to go through chemotherapy. I watched my mom go through this with such grace. I watched my mother have the most optimistic and positive and jovial attitude of anyone that I knew. All of the characteristics and tenets that I would need to go through. And I did. I was so grateful for my mom's presence on earth at that time to show me how to go through what I needed to walk through next. That was where my gratitude was the rocket fuel to my resilience to stay in the race of what I had to face next. See how powerful that is? How cool is that?
That is so cool. And, and most people don't even realize the power of gratitude.
No. And I talk about that in the book. It's huge. It is huge. Gratitude. And this is not easy to find, though, when you are when you're in times of trouble. It really isn't. But when you can find it, when you can identify it, whoo, it is a game changer. It is a game-changing way of thinking. Because we all go through bad times, right? We all experience disappointment, loss, and change. We all have felt sad, pain, stressed at various times of our lives, no question. But gratitude and building resilience can help you maintain a positive outlook, face an uncertain future with less fear, and it can get through your darkest days. It did for me. And for me, another way for me to feel the sun in my soul again was actually to remember and express gratitude. But, Marianne, when you've experienced very difficult times, because people who are listening may say, yeah, right. But when you've experienced difficult times, it's usually possible to find one thing to be grateful about, as I just described. And so another piece of gratitude came from the love of my mom and getting to experience that type of beautiful and unconditional love and watching her examples that I just described of courage and unyielding faith that I needed. And taking a moment to acknowledge gratitude can provide, it could help you with stress, and it shifts your thinking to deepen your faith and your joy. See, realizing the purpose of your setback in your overall life plan, whether you believe in your destiny being predetermined or things happening for a reason, something occurred during your setback that positively positioned you for the future. And at the time of that setback, you may have a serious cause of stress and pain, but in time, you will realize or come to realize that it happened for a reason. It made you better, made you stronger, made you more appreciative because of it. And there's a lesson to be learned in every single situation that you encounter in life. And I talk about that in every discouragement eliminator in the book, and there's 10. And it doesn't matter if it's your personal life, your love life, any situation you find yourself, loss. So many people have lost, Marianne. The key is how you process every interaction.
Yeah, that is so important. And it makes all the difference in how we react. It's either react or respond. And so there's thoughtfulness in responding. And I feel like you really help people to identify the two of those things so that they can make better choices for themselves.
Oh, yes. Yes. And the other thing too is you've got to be kind to yourself. I say this to my clients in my diversity work, my day job. And I say this in the book, and I say this to people during great conversations like this, Marianne, is that we're all going through a lot at the moment. All of us. We're still dealing with a global pandemic. Vaccinations, some people are getting sick on the second shot. So we're still having to wear masks. We still have to be careful around our families, around gatherings, and just life as we know it. And everyone adjusts to change and upheaval differently, right? So don't criticize your coping skills or beat yourself up. I did that. And I was like, what am I doing? If you don't get up on the inside fast enough, it's okay. Our self-compassion is a part of building resilience. So you got to give yourself a little grace. And I wish that I had done that 9 years ago. In retrospect, I tell you, I wish I would have been a little kinder to myself. But when you're in it, Marianne, sometimes it's hard to see those things. It's hard to see, it's hard to reflect. And, at the end of each chapter of the book, I have self-reflection exercises and, some places for people to journal. Because one of the things that I learned is that you have to journal. And you have to self-reflect. And, before we go today, I'm going to share with you what's going to happen on Monday, that I talked about training at the beginning of the top of the hour that we talked about when we started talking about optimism being a trained skill. Well, there's something I'm going to help you with very soon. And I'm excited to tell you about it in a little bit.
Well, we're excited to hear about that. My goodness, and just to have, some help in that area, in all of your experience, what do you think is like the number one thing that keeps people stuck?
Oh my gosh, themselves. Right. People have heard that forever. So let me give you something else, because people always hear you are your biggest enemy, right? You are. But they're decisions, I think. And let me explain what I mean by that. One of the most important, decisions a person will ever make is what they choose to believe. Whether you believe in yourself, you believe in a higher power, what you believe. Also, defining a single clear intention for yourself. This isn't about what you're going to check off your to-do list. That's not what I'm talking about. It's about how you want to be today. Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be defeated? Do you want to curl up in a ball in the corner like I did for 2 weeks after my mom passed away? That was my choice. I closed the curtains. I couldn't close them tight enough, Marianne, because I didn't want any light to come in my bedroom. Right? So you're telling yourself that there are good things happening around you and deciding how you want to show up that day in the world. And I chose to show up in darkness. I shouldn't have done that. I should have chosen light, but I just couldn't. Many people can't. But I had to decide, when was I going to let the optimism, the happiness that my mom showed, that she always spread, kick in? Because by then, you've gone beyond kind of where you need to be, meaning what you decide. It goes back to that choice, that decision of what you choose to believe about yourself and your situation and how you show up on the inside and to the world.
So with all the work that you've done, I know you talk about how, that rear view mirror, we're supposed to, there's a power in that. And I'd love for you to share that with our listeners.
The power of the rear view, as I explained earlier, Marianne, the power of the rear view is one of my favorite chapters to write, quite honestly. It's because that, the power of the rear view is so incredibly important, because it gives us an opportunity to, yes, look in your past, but not dwell there. Because it's important that we look at how we've coped at crisis, at problems, at breakups, at people have lost their jobs in the past before a global pandemic. How did you end up finding a better one? You've got to continuously, but not dwell there, identify your past successes, so you can understand how you were able to pull through that, so you can do it again. And what I do is I ask people oftentimes, was 2020 your worst year? Most people, they think about it and they say, no, it wasn't. That's something. And we are being trained to think that 2020 was our worst year ever in life. And I know 2020 was not my worst year. Marianne, was it yours?
No, not at all. In fact, it really had me focus in on things that are really important.
See? The power of your rear view. Think about So when you just said that, you just said 2020 was really a powerful year for you in focus, right? So it wasn't your worst year. You can probably think about what your worst year was. You have the year in your mind right now because it's a staple in your brain. And whatever it took for you to pivot from that, or if you may still be in it, dealing with it in some way, you know some of the characteristics that it took of you to pull out of that. So when that hits you again, or a year like that hits you again, you have some frames of behavioral reference to get you through. That's the power of your rear view.
You know, and it's so interesting. Earlier, you talked about how we really understand, these things are happening for us in many ways. And what I got from your book was that if we can be in the present moment of whatever's going on, all the trauma, all the discord, and really look at where is the lesson for me, it really shifts things in a completely different way.
Oh my God, yeah. You have to reprioritize sometimes. You have to ask yourself how this situation ranks in the big picture of your life, a situation, right? In other words, on a scale from 1 to 10, right? How big of a deal is it? And I'm not belittling, what anybody is going through. Lord knows I'm not. But you have to kind of think about that in that regard, because there is, when we use a setback as motivation fuel, we talked about that. Every situation, whether it's bad or good, provides energy, right? How you interpret or choose that energy is entirely up to each of us, right? But the key for all of us to take the time to look for the good, so something positive can be pulled from any negative situation. And I know that sounds like I have a bowl of sugar, every day in my life. I don't. But at some point, you have to take the posture of confidence and persistence. And you also have to continuously think about the outlook. Research shows that when compared with pessimists, this was interesting to me, optimists live 11 to 15% longer, they sleep better, and they're more likely to have better heart health. Isn't that interesting?
Well, I like that. I'll sign up for that every day.
I know. And Marianne, and something else was interesting. Most people are now more optimistic than ever, believe it or not. I read in USA Today, quoting USA Today, 70% of people believe that the worst is behind us. 70% of people in the US. And I was reading in Pew Research, doing some research in Pew Research, just released. Germany is ahead of us. I can't recall their percentage, but US is number 3 in optimism, that we are the most optimistic people right now in the midst of a global pandemic. And I think it was in the 60s, the percentage. So you're talking about we're teetering between 67% and 70% of people feeling feeling optimistic about this. So the other 30 to 40% of people in the world are not optimistic. And so am I going to say there's a reason for that? No. Some people simply are not a natural optimist, right? Which is classic pessimistic thinking, by the way, right? Or if the past year has, done a number on your usual positive outlook, you're not out of the game, right? Because as I mentioned, optimism can be trained, but it just takes some effort to build.
Do you think that's happening because there's been such a focus on mental health now than ever before?
Oh yeah, no question about it. I think people are forced to some degree, and I don't use force negatively, but they're forced and they have more time. Just like you said something very key, Marianne. You said, I've been more focused. And I agree with you, and I are kindred spirits in that regard. This is the most focused I've ever been in the last probably 3 years, because it has been, yes, to your point, mental health has been a focus. Yes. But I think that we have been in a lot of solitude, right? I've been in a lot of solitude, right? Our teams, we work home virtually. I don't have children at home. It's just me at home. So I make a choice. I either am very productive or I am just relaxing, right? But but in that solitude, I make a choice. I'm reading more, doing a lot of self-development. I am just focused on task at hand and growth and success and reading this. And, I'm the book and book activities and talking to readers, and they're sharing their feedback and their outlook and how the book has transformed their thinking and, all these types of things. And that's also been pouring into me, Marianne, because it's also having me be reflective on a time when I was going through what they went through. And so I am also growing with the reader, believe it or not. Although that happened to me 9 years ago and I'm still dealing with it, but I'm growing in a different way now, a new way now, an expanded way now, because I'm continuously expanding my concept of optimism. And that's what I'm asking people to do as well, because it's just not about the bowl of sugar, right? It is about looking at adversity as temporary. This pandemic is temporary. The remade nation we live in is eternal, because we will never go back to the nation we lived in prior to 2020. That's a fact. But the global pandemic is temporary. So we have to start to reprogram ourselves. We train our minds because it can be trained. And that's what we have to realize. But it's going to take some people longer than others, and that's okay. Remember, you've got to be kind to yourself about that. And you've got to wake up each day with the intention to either be happy, to be good, and to do good. Right? There's no...
I love that. I think we all needed that drop of optimism today, right?
I'm so happy. Well, I will tell you this. So I'm telling you a secret, because I'm doing an interview with ABC tomorrow about it. And I'm going to do a video about it actually tomorrow, and then we're going to release it over the weekend. So I'm going to ask you this question, Marianne, and your listeners. Can you be optimistic for 21 days?
That's I'm sure some people are going, 21 days. I probably could do it for 24 hours.
Well, guess why? So we are launching a new program designed to re-energize those suffering from pandemic fatigue and teach the skills necessary to tap into the power of optimism. So, for the next 21 days, starting on Monday, we will going to have a 21-day exploration into the tools, tactics, and themes from the book Optimists Always Win. And it will be a road test to your optimism skills, to eliminate your discouragement, and to create a new set of positive habits. So this program, Marianne, is going to be short videos. We're going to explore themes from each chapter of the book, and it's going to challenge everyone to be optimistic every day for 3 consecutive weeks, and to keep everyone on track. Each morning of the program will begin with a daily dose of optimism and practical tips for leveraging the discouragement eliminators in the book, which are 10. And, I consider the most important technique for successfully adopting an optimistic mindset. So you can go to, and everyone who's listening can go to optimistalwayswinseries.com and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you're in. You get the book at amazon.com. And as you know, Marianne, are going to 2 cancer charities. So as many books as we sell, the more people we bless. And what's in it for the reader is that my hope is that they will heal, they will grieve, and they will train themselves to be optimistic. And they'll also walk with me on this 21 days of optimism to help go through the evolution of positivity.
Oh my goodness.
Does that sound exciting?
Yeah, what? It does. I'm in. I'll be joining you on that 21-day adventure. I'm going for it. Oh my goodness, Kimberly. I mean, we could talk for hours. I just love your work and your energy and of course your book, and so excited to hear about this 21-day challenge. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Marianne. You are fantastic. I listen to you all the time. I love your voice. And more importantly, I love what you are, the movement you have created and what you do with people and how you share your platform and just everything. Keep shining and thriving. I mean it. I love it.
Oh, well, thank you, Kimberly. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Optimists Always Win. Optimists Always Win is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, ask for them to order it. And of course, it's available on Kindle. You can again get in touch with Kimberly at thereeddevelopmentgroup.com for more information. Of course, you'll want to attend the 21-day Optimist Challenge by going to optimistalwayswinseries.com and sign up for her YouTube page. If you'd like to learn more about the book, you can at optimistalwayswin.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.